Hello, everyone, and welcome to the International Mentoring Center webinar series, where we continue to pursue our mission to empower mentors and mentees worldwide by fostering a community of learning, growth, and professional development. Here at IMC, we believe that mentorship is one of the most powerful tools for personal and professional transformation. And through this platform, industry experts and leaders can share insights, knowledge, and best practices to elevate global awareness on mentoring standards. My name is Ira, and I will be your host today. Just a few housekeeping reminders. Kindly make sure that your mics are muted, though, of course, you are welcome to turn on your videos if you'd like to. After the presentation today, we'll have a Q&A session towards the end, so please feel free to share any questions, thoughts, reactions throughout the conversation in the chat, and we'd love to hear from you. So our aim is to create a vibrant community of learning and growth. So please know that this is a safe and welcoming space to learn and share ideas. Your participation makes this experience even better, and we can't wait to hear from you. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker for today. He is a renowned entrepreneur, mentor, and business coach with over 30 years of experience leading successful businesses. He's a master in mentoring, and he has also helped countless leaders integrate coaching principles to drive growth and overcome challenges. Let's get ready to learn as he shares his proven strategies for building rapport, setting clear goals, and unlocking your untapped potential. Let us all welcome Alexandros Trizani.
Thank you, Ira. And
Thank you.
Thank you all for taking the time today to attend. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I am Alexandros, and during my career, I have helped build a number of different companies. During my journey, I've had the help of many mentors, namely my father, first and foremost, but also many business mentors. So at some point in my career, I've decided that I needed to give back. And this is why I'm also doing this. And I have a business as a business coach. However, this is my professional path because I'm also a husband, a father, and a friend. So I use mentorship also within the personal space to empower my children and empower my relationships. So I want to thank you again for joining, and let's dive in. What is mentoring basically? Mentoring is, as International Mentoring Center would define it, is a collaborative, dialogic, and reflective learning relationship with mutual agreements and shared responsibilities in order to facilitate personal and professional development and advancement of individuals or teams, in order to increase choices and develop capabilities. However, if I would, to put it simply, mentoring is basically a relationship. It's a relationship where an experienced individual, someone that has gone through a specific situation and has achieved some experience in that, is establishing a relationship with a younger or a lesser experienced other individual in order to advance some of that knowledge, to provide some guidance, and to encourage the other person to grow personally and professionally. So basically, mentoring is basically a relationship which is established in order to share some wisdom and foster development. Moving onwards, I could go on saying why mentoring is important, and I could list, the different reasons. As we said, because it's accelerating growth and development, or it improves decision making, and you can read all that, or you can research all that. However, in order to really make a point, I would like to share a very personal story. Actually, it's my first instance that I can remember being mentored. And it's a story during my younger years. I was probably 15 years old. And I was sailing a lot. My hobby was sailing. I was like in the sea, I don't know, 5, 6 hours per day. And during one of those days, there was a big storm, and a lot of other sailing boats where I used to sail were having problems. And from the far, on the far distance in the horizon, I saw a boat which was really struggling with the waves and the weather and all that. So I was crazy enough to be out there at that time. But in any case, I approached them and noticed that there were like two couples, older couples, much older. And I asked them if I needed help. And they said, yes, please, can you help us because we are going to die? So I went on board and basically by doing problem solving, trying to figure out what was wrong with them. They had, ropes ripped apart. They had, their sails not working, rudders, everything was going wrong. But somehow, step by step, I managed to bring them back to port. And the people there were so grateful that they wanted to, thank us by having us, me and my family, dinner at night. So we had the dinner, and it turns out that the couple, both of them, husband and wife, two couples, they were professors at MIT. And I spent that night hearing stories and actually being mentored back by these people about what my future could be like. So that was the moment when I set the goal that I want to go and study engineering in MIT. I was 15 years old after a storm, very tired. And this was the first instance. And I think that changed my life. And I think that is why mentoring is very, very important. This is probably the reason also why I'm exercising it back. So moving forward, let me try to briefly talk about, the context of mentoring. And you have probably all heard about the different types and different examples. And maybe at this moment, I would like to also ask our attendees, our audience, if they have had any experience with different mentors or different situations. So how many of you have ever had the experience with a mentor? And how was it? And what did you get out of it? What did you gain? How did you feel? So basically, you can have different types of mentoring. You can have the traditional and non-traditional. Traditional where, you have a more experienced person, guide or support or, mentors. Non-traditional mentoring could be something like I have also many times when I'm lacking knowledge or experience in some setting, and there is a younger person that can provide one. For example, in coding or in software or in high-tech tools. So you get different types of mentoring. Situational mentoring is when you tailor your style to the mentee's experience, kind of like what the professors did during that dinner, where they noticed what, my skills were during saving their boat and their life. They realized I was good at problem solving. They realized I was good at, things with having to do with hands and probably mechanics and things like that. So they mentored me about engineering in MIT. The 5 C's of mentoring are basically the clarity, the connection, the challenge, confidence, and commitment. And all these are used to drive transformation. You also get many times breakthroughs through mentoring. I have seen many clients of mine achieve moments of breakthrough just by having a shift in their mindset. Transformation can happen, and it can happen with just a few words, or it can happen with a lot of work. In order to achieve that kind of environment and that kind of relationship with your mentees, there is different tools that you can use. One of my favorite ones is NLP. I don't know if you are familiar with the term. It's abbreviation for neuro-linguistic programming. And it's a framework that explores the connection between our thoughts, our feelings, the way we communicate, the words we choose to use, basically our language and behavior. Have you heard the term NLP before? Now, NLP was developed by three persons: Richard Bandler, John Grinder, and Frank Kuselek, back in the 1970s in California, University of California, actually. And they decided to work together because all three of them had a fascination with human excellence. So they decided to chart a path for them to model behavioral patterns of geniuses. Now, the three, they started modeling another set of three people: Fritz Perls, Virginia Satir, and Milton Erickson. All three of them were outstanding as professionals in psychotherapy, in the domain of psychotherapy. And they were consistently successful in enabling their clients achieve the outcomes that they desired. Therefore, they were considered geniuses, and Grinder, Bangler, and Puselik modeled them and developed neurolinguistic programming and techniques and tools that many people nowadays use for their mentoring sessions. What are some of these tools, and why are they useful for mentoring? Because mentoring, we said before, it's a relationship and it's about communication. And these are, two of the core competencies of IMC. One is effective communication, and the other one is relationship building and maintenance for creating learning agreements, as we said before. And basically NLP as a tool, because it is all about communication and relationship building to create learning. It enhances communication by adapting to each other's communication styles. It quickly builds trust using different techniques like mirroring and rapport. Other times it helps mentees reframe limiting beliefs. mostly it facilitates clear path to goal setting and action plans to achieve those goals, because it equips people with options, let's say, to achieve them and unlock their potential. So some of these techniques and tools we can talk about them. I just want to specifically mention a couple of them. One very powerful one is anchoring. And I'm sure if you notice, there is a flag, a blurred flag, Greek flag behind me, if you notice that. That is the flag I used to have on the boat back from the story when I was 15 years old. And the flag is there because it's an anchor. It reminds me of what one can achieve by helping others. So that instance of the sailing, that story, how I met the professors, how they told me about what was going on there. Me, a kid from Greece that I didn't even know where United States was. To be able, after some time and a lot of hard work, to be able to go through MIT, get a degree, get work experience in the States, come back to Greece, build businesses, all that stuff can be anchored back to just one moment in a sailing boat, with a flag behind me waving in the heavy wind. It was, I mean, even telling the story, some people, don't believe it. But the flag serves as an anchor. And actually the story also serves as an anchor, because the story is something that makes the path interesting. Kind of like an anchor on a boat that keeps you, steady. It's a similar thing. The other one that I would like to talk about is about reframing. And it's kind of funny because few months back, I had a client. We had a session together, like an introductory session. And this client was telling me how he was very upset because his sales were, too low. He was making maybe $1,000 or $2,000 per month. He only had like 35 clients, and he didn't have more than, I don't know, 200-300 subscribers to his business, and he was really upset and he wanted help. So I told him, okay, I think you have a very solid business. Actually, if you're having, 35 clients and 200 subscribers, that's a better business than the one I have. And, people consider myself successful because I've built businesses. I'm building others even now. And it's a process. So if you just started, through 2-3 months ago, and you still have, and you already actually have, more than 30 customers, some revenue, a lot of interest, and you're still building, look at it this way. Look at it from the point of view of just starting and you already have something to talk about. And I know that you are, impatient, and I know that you want to build fast, and I know all that, and that you would like to, make change. However, you started and you're already somewhere. And this is powerful enough. And this was something that he also needed to hear, because he was building and he was, pushing along, but he wasn't really certain if he was on the right path. And all he needed was just a different perspective, basically. So other tools that NLP uses to influence communication, nonverbal cues like body language or eye contact or facial expressions, or even, breathing. There is other communication strategies like meta model or mirroring. Basically, you mimic and patterns of the other person to establish trust and other things. However, NLP in the setting of mentoring, for me, is most powerful in goal setting and basically using the tools to achieve your objectives and to set your action plans. And in regards to goal setting, we can talk about, the traditional techniques. We can talk about, having objectives which are SMART. I'm sure you all know these: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And you also have, other techniques like breaking objectives into smaller parts, smaller steps to track progress. Or even I've heard recently, accountability coaches and stuff like this, or visualization techniques. All these are pretty good. However, I would like to take this time now to talk to you about a few other techniques which I think are very powerful for goal setting. And goal setting is very important, at least when you're starting out and building things. And you actually, sometimes you are always starting out. At any point in your life, there might be something that you're starting. So it's important to me because it answers the question, how do you go about achieving your goals? And I'm using two different tools. If we can go to the slide that says, yeah. Yes, well-formed outcomes, visualizing an NLP framework for mentoring. Well-formed outcomes, basically, you can define your objectives, but what happens if achieving that might go against your values or against some other things that are forming you? I've had examples like this with clients where they were achieving what they wanted to achieve, but it didn't feel right to them. I've had a client who was building her business. She was achieving sales, and every month she was doing more and more. And every time we would talk, she was like really frustrated. And we worked together in the NLP framework. And what happened was that she was frustrated because she was building her business, but she was not really helping others, which was the reason why she has started her business in the first place. So one of the effects of her achieving her goal, which was making money, and that process was moving her away from her larger objective, which was to help people. And this is why within the NLP framework, you have also techniques like future pacing. So you can guide your mentees to mentally experience and actually feel what the feeling might be when they achieve their goal. So moving on, I would like to tell you a little bit about two tools that I use extensively during my work. And these are the score and TOTE models. And the score model is the first and foremost, most powerful one for me. And it's basically, if I can describe it very simply, you have two conditions. You have like the current situation, what you experience now and where you are currently. And you have a desired state, what you would like to achieve. So your current situation, you know what is happening because you have some symptoms. You identify your situation or your problem by facing symptoms, basically. So, for example, lack of sales, like we discussed before. You know that you have only 35 sales and that you want more, as an example. The current state also has the causes. What is the reason behind the symptom, basically? Is it something that can be addressed? Is it something that goes back to you and that you need to put some work in? So basically the causes cause the symptoms, which is what your current situation is. And then what you need to do is you need to use your resources in order to go to your desired state, which is achieve your objective, the goal that you would like to have, to achieve. And over and beyond that, what achieving that goal might mean to you, like the story we discussed before. So basically, you can put some work and you can solve or address some of the symptoms, and you can get to the objective that you think you want, but without addressing the consequences of that achievement and without having consciously a well-formed outcome, might put you in a new situation with a new problem to face and solve. And as the example that we talked before with my client, that she was increasing her sales, but she wasn't helping people, this is what needed to be consciously understood by her, so that she knows that, okay, I can build my business and I can make money out of this. And I can also allocate part of my time and resources to also do pro bono work and help people. And this was like the breakthrough that she achieved to start feeling more satisfied, to start feeling full from her work and what she was doing. And this was a technique that we worked together, the SCORE model: symptoms, causes, resources, objectives, and effects. And it was a timeline that she went through in order to achieve that. And this was for her a very powerful breakthrough. Another one, other of the tools that I'm using for goal setting is the TOTE model. And this stands for test, operate, test again, exit. Now, this one combined with a score, both of them can be very, very powerful. I probably use these in 95% of the cases. You can think of TOTE model as, I'm an engineer after all. So, engineers mostly do their work on a trial and error basis. So the TOTE you can think of it as a trial and error. So basically what you do is you assess the current state or a situation, and you identify what you want to do, where you want to start. And then based on that, you do it basically. You take action based on that assessment. You apply whatever strategy or action you decided to do, and you check the result. It's like a feedback loop. The moment you see the result, you can evaluate whether that result is towards the result that you were expecting or that you wanted. And then you go back and you tweak your strategy, you tweak your action. And you do that on a feedback loop for as long as you are satisfied or as long as you see improvement in the result that you are getting. So the last part is the exits. Once the outcome at the level and condition that you envisioned it in the beginning is achieved, that's when you exit. Otherwise, you go back, feedback loop, revise your actions, and do it again. So imagine doing that combined with the SCORE model that we talked before. It's something that, you can probably achieve anything. And it's something that I'm using most of the times as well. However, moving forward, there are situations that using these tools are not bringing about, the change that is required or the breakthrough that is required. For these cases, there is a couple of other techniques or tools. We have also briefly talked about reframing. We can get back and talk about it again. One of the most powerful ones is values bridging. So basically, what you do there is you identify your mentee's core values, coming from different paths, all the way up to the highest value that mentee may have. Every person has what I call an identity matrix. It's who they are. It's the values that they have rooted, the beliefs, systems. The beliefs and the values for each person make them achieve skills and capabilities. These skills and capabilities lead them to behave in a certain way in a certain environment. So sometimes you see people, you notice people behaving or doing things or being very skillful at some functions, and sometimes they are so busy doing things, acting and behaving, that they are forgetting the reasons why they are doing that. The example that we talked before about the lady client, that she was killing it in sales, but she was still not feeling satisfied, was a very good example of her values not bridging together. So she wanted to make a business for herself. She wanted to do well. However, she was lacking the part that told her internally also give back to the environment, help people. And as soon as that was realized on a conscious level, that was something that totally changed her, path. So basically, you use this technique, this value bridging technique, to explore different situations and different um, goal settings and path, how to achieve them, in order to create a stronger sense of purpose. Another technique is reframing. And we also talked about this a little bit. It's a set of techniques, let's say dialogues, words, or perspectives that one can use in order to shift someone from a failure mindset to one that is basically looking at the same situation as a learning experience, as something that makes one grow, makes one develop, makes one gain further experience, which are valuable to move forward. And to go back to that story, there was this guy who was starting his business, as we said, and he came to me because he really thought I was successful, and maybe I was in his own perspective, because I had already built a number of different businesses, some of them many multi-million to larger companies. And he really wanted, my guidance. So when he said to me that, he was basically starting out and failing it, not moving forward, although having 35 clients and 200 subscribers and things like that, and hearing me that he was looking up to tell him that, you know, your business is doing much more than what my current business is doing, was a total mindset shift for him. It was something that made them understand and made them feel that what they are doing is enough, maybe, is not even something that they think is failure. And basically, bottom line, that any way you look at it, it's a start. And sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes all you need to know is that you are starting. And this has always been, personally as well, my mindset. My mindset has always been, okay, this is a new thing. I'm gonna start it. I know I've done it before. Maybe I will fail. Maybe I will move along. It doesn't make any difference because, you know, starting out is always difficult, but also starting out is like half of the whole thing. And closing, this is what I would like you to take back with you. And if you also want to recap what we were discussing, some key takeaways about the different mentoring models, some NLP techniques for effective mentoring, the score and thought model for goal setting, the values bridging and reframing framework for overcoming setbacks. And I want to, at this point, thank you for taking the time. And let's use the remaining 5 or 10 minutes for any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much for that, Alexandros. We would like to invite everyone, like Alexandros has said, this is a time for us to share or ask any questions about the topic that resonated with you. So please know that this is a safe and welcoming space. Our goal is to learn from each other, empower each other, especially mentors and people who are looking for mentors as well. So this is a time for you to ask your questions or address anything that, you know, made an impact or resonated with you throughout this conversation.
Good morning. I do have a question about this because right now I'm starting to work on my 2025 New Year goals. So how do you go about it using your techniques?
Okay. Let me ask, how far are you setting your 2025 New Year goals?
For now, the first 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going on personally and then business-wise, for sure. I would like to know, how do you go about it?
Right. Okay. Just a very quick reply would be to make sure you have all your goals and objectives as a well-formed outcome, in a sense that you need to put yourself in that future situation where you have done that and you have achieved that, and make sure that everything is aligned and connected. Make sure that, you know, whatever you are feeling once you have achieved those goals are exactly what you would like to be feeling at that time. And I would combine that with a little bit of going down your timeline, slowly going towards, you know, achieving your goals, and checking also what happens in your environment, you know, how your behaviors might be changing, what other feelings might be popping up, you know, just making sure that everything is aligned would be, you know, my advice to you.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Maruna. Anyone else that has a question or anything that you would like to share in the group? There's a question from Javita Alexandros. Can you tell us one NLP technique for goal achievement?
Yeah, for sure. And the one we also talked about is the SCORE model. For goal achievement is probably a technique that I have personally used most often. And if you're looking for something else, I would also recommend, you know, the chunk size. Basically, what happens there is, I have a good story. I usually say, how do you eat an elephant? Bite per bite. And if you're vegetarian, how do you eat an orange? Piece by piece, basically. So having the right chunk size and chunking down a goal into smaller chunks and achieving each one of them, for me, I think is also a very useful and powerful technique for goal achievement. If that helps, Jovita.
I think it did, as she said thank you on the chat. Thank you for that question, Javita. Anyone else that has a question or anything that you'd like to share, some stories that you have from your mentoring experiences? I think there are no other questions beside those people that have already talked. I think your presentation is very clear, Alexandros, the techniques, especially NLP techniques that we can use when we're mentoring our mentees. We have a few questions here from Goshi. Can you give one tip to new mentors?
Yes, for sure. One tip that I could give goes as following. If you have ever felt that somebody, by being there for you, or by giving you advice, or by whatever type of situation or function or relationship, has profoundly shaped you personally and professionally, the advice that I would give, or the tip that I would give, is to really acknowledge that, really and with very fine detail, consciously understand what this person did for you and what this person meant for you and what the whole experience was basically all about, and try to be that to others. That would be my tip.
Thank you, Alexandros. I hope that helped you, Goshi. Is Goshi still in the room? All right, moving forward, are there any other questions that you would like to ask our speaker today? There is one from Roman. Are there any different in using the NLP techniques in the context of coaching and mentoring?
I would say simply no to that. I mean, in essence, these are like tools. So it's like trying to have an analogy. I mean, you know, when you have a screwdriver, it's a tool. So you can use it to screw a screw in, you know, or you can use it as a hammer to bang a nail in. But in any case, I think there isn't that much difference in using the techniques in the different contexts of coaching or mentoring. I think the difference being not in the usage or the way that the technique is used, but more so in the context, in the intention that the technique is being used. What I'm trying to say is that the intention in mentoring is to achieve profound change for your mentees. Sometimes in coaching, especially in business coaching, it also has to do with more tangible aspects of whatever the business or whatever. So I would say one is more personal than the other. Mentoring is more personal than the other. Does that answer the question?
Roman, I hope that answered your question today about techniques in the context of coaching and mentoring. Moving forward, we have another question here from Goshi. Sometimes mentees does not follow the goal achievement. How do I overcome this?
I'm not sure I understand what that means. I think I do. What I can say about that is basically, can you check whether there is established trust in the relationship? Can you check whether there is established rapport in the communication? Can you also identify whether there is other maybe hidden issues? Is there congruency not only in whatever is spoken, but also like in the body language or the associated, let's say, breathing patterns even, or conveyed feelings? There might be something hidden that is not identified or is not surfaced out yet. So this is what I would recommend doing.
Thank you for that, Alexandros. And Goshi, I hope that answered your question about in the context of goal achievement, if a client doesn't follow the goal achievement? How do you overcome? Roman said thank you, by the way. It made more, it was making so much sense. And Jovita also said, thank you, Alexandros, for the tips. It makes sense.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Yeah. If there are any other questions before we close the session for today. Thank you, Miruna.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no other questions, this wraps up our session for today. I appreciate everyone's participation and your thoughtful insights. And obviously, special thanks to you, Alexandros, for your invaluable insights and expertise on empowering leadership through mentoring strategies that really resonated with our audience. Thank you so much, Goshi, Angie as well. Thank you guys for joining us and for sharing
Thank you,
your questions and thoughts.
everyone. Thank you. My pleasure.
So if you are a mentor seeking credentials, or if you are a training provider yourself seeking accreditations, please feel free to know more about those things in our website. If you are an individual looking for a mentor such as Alexandros, feel free to connect with him through his LinkedIn. We have shared the link on the chat. So please feel free to message Alexandros for anything that you would like to talk more, especially in the context of what we discussed today. And I hope you guys gained valuable insights and learnings for today's webinar. And thank you all for joining us again. And I hope this fuels our commitment to fostering many more meaningful mentorships. And stay tuned for more of our upcoming exciting webinars as we continue to engage, evolve, and empower each other. Alexandros, if you have any other closing remarks for our guests today.
Closing remarks. It's been very amazing experience also for me. And I want to thank everybody who took the time to attend and everybody that, had questions. And I'm looking forward to even doing that on a more personal one-to-one basis for anybody that would like to continue this discussion forward. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alexandros. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you.